Alright, so now we're going to get into a lot of main verbs that you will be using in Hmong. These verbs are ya, nyo, and ua. And so these all pretty much mean the same thing. They all mean to be, but they all have different uses of to be. So also there's one non-existent verb right underneath ua. It's just to show you that we don't even use a word and we still mean to be. And so I'll start off with ya. The ya is more factual, it's more concrete. It is what it is. Like you are a certain ethnicity, and stuff like that. I don't exactly know how else to explain that, but it's things that are more factual based, things that are more permanent as well. Nyo is also to be, and that is used in instances where you're describing location or you're describing a state of being. So a state of being would be like, I am sick, I am healthy, I am well, I am sad, stuff like that. Not necessarily I am sad. There's there's a word for that, but we'll get to that in a second. But anyways, they're kind of a state of being, in a way. Ua also means to be, and that would fulfill like the grammatical sense of like, I am filling a role or something like that. I'm being somebody in a way, or I'm being something. And it's kind of like the characteristic in a way, like say I am patient. You would use ua in that sense, and then the word for patient. And then the blank verb right there, right at the bottom, you'll see a parentheses with 2 dashes in it. This is where there's no verb present in the sentence, but it can still mean to be, in English, really. And we only use this when we are using indefinite adjectives and helping verbs. And so indefinite adjectives would be like describing a person, like I am tall, I am short, I am skinny, stuff like that. And then the helping verb would be like he was reading. No, not necessarily. That was a bad sentence. Um, this one's kind of hard or a little difficult to explain, but it's kind of like, yeah, you can actually say that I am reading or we are teaching, stuff like that. So those are just a few examples. I'll go over a few more examples in Hmong in the next little segment of this video, and so I'll see you there. Okay, for example, we have yo in this case. I have 3 examples, and I'm going to go over them pretty quickly. But this will just show that the factual sense or the permanent sense. Nu yo Hmong, he is Hmong. You can't really change your race. You are what you are. Bei yo pong yu, we are friends. I hope that doesn't change. But in this case, you would say bei yo pong yu. The next example is du jia yo yi du gai. Now you can't necessarily change the fact that you're a chicken. So the animal is a chicken. So you'll see that these are more factual, because bei yo pong yu, that's a fact. It's not necessarily bei yo pong yu in a sense like, hey, we're just friends for the day or something like that. That would be bei wo pong yu, like we are being friends or something like that. But if you say bei yo pong yu, like we are friends, you kind of feel like you're saying that to someone in a way. And then the animal is a chicken. It's a fact. It's permanent. The chicken can't change the fact that he's a chicken. He's not a rooster. He's not a tiger. He's not an elephant. He's a chicken. So you would say yo. So I hope that gives you a sense of what yo means. It's permanent and it's factual. Alright, so in this example we have the word nyo. Nyo, like I said, has to do with location, and it also has to do with state of being. So I only have 2 examples because it's fairly simple. So my first example is le nyo jae, which means they are home. So nyo in this case would be location, since they are located at home. So they are home. My second example would be nu nyo zhong wo chou. Now nu can mean he, she, or it, but you'll get this from the context of who you're talking about. But anyways, in this case, I picked she. So she as well. Thanks. And so these this nya actually this one will mean a state of being. So nya zhong would be like to be well, pretty much. So is well. And then wochao means thanks. So this will give you an idea of when to use nya in a sentence versus ya or wa. So let's move on to the next one, which is wa. All right, so next up is wa. Wa is pretty nice too, but it does get a little confusing sometimes. You might mix up wa with ya sometimes, but after practice, like I keep saying, you'll get the point. Anyway, so my first example is nu wa itunai ku. Now, nu wa itunai ku means he is a teacher. Now, this may seem like a fact, and that's why you might get this mixed up with ya sometimes, but he is actually being the role of a teacher. He is, I don't know how else to explain this, but you're not necessarily doing you don't have a role as a Hmong person, you don't have a role as an American, you don't have a role as if you're an animal. Like that is what you are. But he is a teacher. That doesn't mean that will be permanent. It means he could change. He can go to school, more school. He can become like an engineer or something like that. So he is currently being a teacher. So it's not as permanent. He is just fulfilling a role at the time. And so I hope that gives you a good sense of, what wa accomplishes when we say is. And then the second example is ga wa xie lu, which means you are impatient. You can say ga xie lu as well. That is sort of acceptable, but in this case, wa is used. It can be used. So you can use it when you're describing a person in a way. But to me, to be honest, in casual conversation, I would probably just say 高谢喽. But this is an example of how you can use 我. And so that's just there for your benefit. So now we're going to move on to the to be as in indefinite adjectives and also helping verbs. Now here's the last to be. And so we're just going to get right into the example. So this one, actually I'm going to explain a little bit beforehand. Like I said, this is indefinite adjectives or helping verbs. I'll explain what those are in a sec. So the indefinite adjective, it's kind of like you're just describing someone's like how they are pretty much. And so in this case, for my example, I use nu shishia, and that means he is really tall. And so you notice that I don't have any verb in there. Shia means tall. And if you, this is a little thing that I actually wanted to talk about. It's very simple. I decided to drop it in right here. But if you repeat an adjective, one after the other, then you're intensifying that adjective or adverb. So in this case, shia would mean like really tall. And in casual conversation, you wouldn't say shia, you would say shia, kind of like you're stuttering a little bit. Shia. All right, so now that you know that, that's a pretty cool grammar principle. You'll hear people say it all the time. And even in some cases, you'll hear some older nietai or grandmas, they'll go, hang like that. They'll go a little bit falsetto. And, I've gotten in the habit. I do it every now and then too. I think it's fun. But that means like he is really tall. And that just intensifies it even more when you go falsetto on those kind of things. Anyways, the next example I have is Bei Nying Dao. Now, I wrote we were reading, but this can also mean we are reading. And so the were or the are is a helping verb. It describes like kind of like the current tense of the sentence, whether or not it's happening right now. So if you leave out the verb pretty much, you still have it in there. Hmong sentences, the present tense can also mean the present progressive tense as well, which is in English the ing of something. And so just keep that in mind that that is there. You don't necessarily need to use a verb to say were or are when it's present progressive. So that takes care of the verb to be. Hopefully, that brings a lot of clarity to you when you're trying to speak Hmong or read Hmong and stuff like that to figure out what people are trying to say to you. Well, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.